Hello and welcome. So today we're diving into an extraordinary chapter in the life of Patrick Brontë, and we're doing it right here in Manchester, a city that has changed dramatically since the Brontë Sisters' time. And while the Manchester today is bustling and modern, it was once a city of medical innovation, and it's here that Patrick Brontë sought treatment for his failing eyesight. By the mid-1840s, Patrick's vision has deteriorated to the point of near total blindness. His world was one of darkness and helplessness. And as Charlotte Brontë wrote, there were mournful days when a father could do nothing for himself and sat all day long in darkness and insertion. His condition had worsened to the point where surgery was the only option left to him. But this wasn't just any procedure, it would be life-changing. And we're going to explore how it happened and why this moment in history is so significant. So, stick with me as we take a closer look at Patrick's eye operation in Manchester and uncover the brave steps he took to restore his sight. You'll hear about the operation itself and how the Brontë sisters cared for their father, and how the medical world in Manchester was key to making it all possible. So let's go back in time and unravel this incredible story and discover how one of the most challenging moments in the Brontë family life ultimately led to a dramatic turn of events. So I could have filmed this outside around Manchester, but I've woken up this morning and it is bitterly cold, and I'm a wimp and don't like getting cold. So I've come into the Manchester Art Gallery, and I'm on Mosley Street, which has a significance, so stick with me and I'll tell you why. So I thought this way I can have a cup of tea and film. So excuse any background noise. It's a city, it's going to be loud. I've actually opted for a coffee today. I know this is very rare, but I've had a long few days and I think I'm in need, and it's a beautiful coffee. Look at that. It looks very large in the camera, but actually, talking scale here. So it's just what I need to wake me up this morning. Oh, that's strong as well. By the summer of 1846, the Brontë sisters were facing a heart-wrenching reality. Their father, Patrick Brontë, was nearly blind. His vision had deteriorated to the point where he could no longer care for himself. Desperate to find a solution, Charlotte and Emily set out on a journey to Manchester in early August 1846. They weren't just looking for any doctor, they needed a specialist capable of performing the delicate surgery that would potentially restore their father's sight. At the time, general surgeons were considered unsuitable for such a complex operation. The procedure required a skill set far beyond what a general practitioner could offer. Manchester, however, was known for its pioneering medical community, home to a renowned infirmary and specialist eye hospital. So it was here, in this city of medical innovation, that the Brontë sisters hoped to find a solution. Through what Charlotte herself described as good fortune, they were referred to Dr. William James Wilson. He was a pioneering ophthalmologist, and Dr. Wilson had earned a stellar reputation and was a founding member of one of the city's leading eye hospitals. His expertise in treating complex eye conditions was proved to be the turning point for the Brontë family, the turning point they so desperately needed. Their search for help had led them to this moment, Manchester, a city known for its medical achievements, and it would offer Patrick the chance for a new life, with the prospect of vision restored and the hope of regaining some independence. But the journey ahead would be filled with both medical challenges and deep personal decisions. I hope you can hear all this. There is so much noise in here. It's quite echo as well, with the high ceilings and of course the cafe environment. Plus they're playing a good amount of music and I like some of it as well, so it's not too bad, but obviously it might affect the audio experience, so apologies in advance. When Charlotte and Patrick arrived in Manchester, they found themselves in capable hands of one of the city's most respected medical figures, Dr. William James Wilson. Not only was Dr. Wilson a pioneer in ophthalmology, but he was also a key figure in Manchester's expanding medical community. Dr. Wilson's reputation stretched far beyond the city, and he had even served as president of the Manchester Medical Society. Although the building that once housed Dr. Wilson's consulting rooms at number 72 Mosley Street no longer stands today, so I am actually on Mosley Street right now. So where I am sat, I would be looking out over where the building of Dr. Wilson's would have been. But of course, development and change, the building's long gone. The significance of that address cannot be overstated. It was here, literally here, in this private practice, that Charlotte and Patrick were about to place their hopes for Patrick's future. Dr. Wilson carefully examined Patrick's eyes and, after assessing the damage, confirmed that surgery was the only viable option. But what set him apart wasn't just the skill, it was the reassurance he offered. Despite the daunting nature of the procedure, Dr. Wilson provided a hopeful prognosis, telling Patrick that, with the eye surgery, he would expect to regain some vision. This news must have been a tremendous relief for Patrick, who had spent so many years in darkness. Scheduled for the following Monday, the surgery was the turning point in the Brontë family's long struggle. But the journey was only just beginning, and the operation itself would prove to be much a test of strength, as it was for medical expertise. After their consultation with Dr. Wilson, Charlotte and Patrick moved into their temporary lodgings at number 83 Mount Pleasant in Boundary Street. These lodgings, recommended by Dr. Wilson, were managed by one of his old servants. However, the servant was away recuperating from an illness, leaving Charlotte to manage the household arrangements on her own. Now in a city far from home, Charlotte found herself overwhelmed by the task of organising meals, something she wasn't accustomed to since Emily had always taken care of the domestic duties back at the parsonage. Feeling completely out of her depth, Charlotte wrote to her dear friend Ellen Nussey, seeking advice in her letter. In her letter, Charlotte humorously confessed, "I find myself excessively ignorant. I can't tell what the deuce to order in the way of meat." It's a remarkable moment that highlights Charlotte's vulnerability and reminds us that even the greatest literary minds of Charlotte Brontë had to navigate the stresses of everyday life. Interestingly, the very building that once housed Charlotte and Patrick is still standing today. It's now known as the Salutation Pub, though it was simply called the Salvation back in the Brontës times. However, the area around it looks dramatically different now, as most of the buildings that would have surrounded it during the Brontës stay are long gone. And the landscape of Manchester has changed significantly over the years. While the name of the pub has shifted, the location remains as a testament to Charlotte's time in Manchester, offering us a tangible link to the past. I mean, imagine walking the same street Charlotte once did and passing by the buildings that played such a pivotal role in her family's journey, now framed against the modern city backdrop. Oh, coffee machine. It looks like a Guinness, doesn't it, with the black and the white? On the day of the operation, Patrick Brontë's remarkable courage shone through. Charlotte was struck by how Dr. Wilson and the surgeons were surprised at Patrick's extraordinary patience and firmness during the procedure. This was not simply surgery by any means. Remarkably, Patrick endured the entire operation without any anaesthetic, a feat that would be unimaginable today. The surgery lasted only about 15 minutes, yet involved the complete extraction of the left lens to treat the cataract, a delicate procedure even by today's standards. I mean, can you imagine undergoing a major eye operation without anaesthetic? I was making my eyes water. Today's cataract surgery is relatively quick and routine and often done with just a local anaesthetic and minimal discomfort, thanks to advances in both surgical techniques and, of course, pain management. But back then, any small movement could have caused long-term damage to the eye. Oh, why is it making my eyes hurt? Patrick's operation required precision and every second counted. One wrong move could have resulted in the loss of vision for good. Patrick later wrote about the pain he felt during the procedure, describing it as a burning sensation. Oh, Despite this, he was remarkably calm, even taking the time to write about the experience in the margins of his medical book, noting belladonna, a virulent poison, was first applied twice in order to expand the pupils. Ooh. Today this might seem like an archaic practice, but back then such methods were state of the art. Patrick detailed notes about the procedure gives us a window into his mind, showing just how much he valued knowledge, even in the midst of suffering. It's a testament to his resilience and his ability to face not only physical pain, but also the uncertainty of surgery that was, by modern standards, still in its infancy. Patrick's recovery after the cataract surgery was an incredibly slow and painful procedure. A full month he remained in complete darkness, confined to a small dark room with bandages over his eyes. This was necessary to allow the eyes to sort of heal without any external strain or light exposure. He had to stay still and quiet, and with the strict instructions from Dr. Wilson to limit any movement that could disturb the healing process. He was attended by a nurse around the clock, ensuring that he was cared for as his situation demanded constant supervision. One particularly challenging aspect of his recovery was the use of leeches, an acceptable medical practice at the time. Leeches were applied to help prevent the inflammation and reduce blood flow, which was thought to aid the healing process. They were actually placed on his head, not on his eyes, I found out, because that really worried me. Could you imagine that, having leeches on your actual eyelids? No, they were placed around his face. It sounds so unsettling to us today, but back then it was considered cutting-edge treatment. Ugh. This added another layer of discomfort to Patrick's already painful recovery, which must have felt like an endless struggle. Despite the extreme discomfort and frustration of his situation, Patrick kept a remarkable positive outlook. Charlotte noted in her letter how her father's resilience remained strong even when his physical suffering was overwhelming. It was not only a test of his physical endurance, but also of his mental fortitude. The process of recovery took longer than anticipated, and it was only after his period of darkness and stillness that he could begin the next stage of his recovery. This kind of prolonged and difficult recovery was typical of the time, as medical knowledge and obviously post-operative care were far less advanced than they are today. In comparison, modern cataract surgery often allows patients to return to light and activity much sooner, with far less pain and restrictions. However, Patrick's determination and ability to endure are a testament to his strength and his experience, though agonising, ultimately led to a significant improvement in his vision. While Patrick was recovering, Charlotte faced her own set of challenges. She not only had the immense responsibility of caring for her father, but also suffering from a severe toothache that had been plaguing her for over a month. The toothache flared up whilst in Manchester, adding to her already mounting stress and, of course, sleepless nights. With no easy remedy at hand, Charlotte would have been familiar with various home treatments for tooth pain. But given her aversion to opium-based medicines, which she'd seen obviously negative impacts with Bramwell's health, she would have likely relied on simple remedies, and they weren't always effective either. It's clear that Charlotte's personal suffering was compounded by the weight of her duties and her ability to endure, though it all speaks volumes about her resilience. Despite her own discomfort and exhaustion, Charlotte continued to support her father, managing his care and overseeing his recovery, often in confined, dark rooms. It was during this time, however, that she also turned to her writing for solace. While Patrick's recovery required patience and silence, Charlotte found the quiet period to be an unexpected opportunity for her to immerse herself in a new project. This was the moment she began Jane Eyre. Thus, Charlotte Brontë's struggles during this time in Manchester, though physical and of course emotionally taxing, ultimately led to the creation of one of the most celebrated novels in English literature, marking a pivotal moment in both her personal and her professional life. Patrick Brontë's notes on the surgery reveal a man who, despite his discomfort, could not help but appreciate Dr. Wilson's expertise. He acknowledged the pain of the procedure, describing it as tolerable, but his reflection was also filled with admiration for the skill set, or the skillful work that had removed his cataracts from his eye. The operation not only removed his immediate suffering, but also prevented the reoccurrence of the cataracts that had plagued him for so long. This moment of relief must have felt like a profound turning point for Patrick, especially considering he was nearly 70 years old at the time. After months of recovering in the darkened room, Patrick Brontë's resilience paid off. Though his eyesight wasn't fully recovered, it improved enough for him to return to his pastoral duties by early 1847. Once again, he was able to stand at the pulpit in Haworth, a moment of triumph for both him and his congregation. I mean, considering the delicate surgery and, of course, his advance in age. Researching Patrick's eye operation has given me a deep appreciation of his incredible strength and his resilience. The procedure itself, especially when viewed through the lens of modern medicine, is quite harrowing. Knowing that Patrick underwent such a delicate surgery without anaesthetic, with the additional risk of complication, makes me cringe at the thought. Yet Patrick's ability to endure his ordeal and his subsequent long recovery, confined to a dark room for months, speaks volumes about his fortitude. This experience was not only physically demanding, but also emotionally challenging, as he had to rely on his daughter for care. The psychological toll on his isolation, combined with his physical vulnerability, must have been immense. What strikes me most is the unwavering resolve to recover, regain his duties, and continue guiding his family and his community. During this time, Charlotte, despite her own physical pain and responsibilities, found the mental space to begin writing Jane Eyre, a novel that would forever link her legacy to that of her father's. Reflecting on all this, I am in awe of the strength both Patrick and Charlotte demonstrated through this difficult period. I mean, they showed how adversity can fuel creativity and determination. Dr. Wilson, Lisa, I can't talk. Stop rattling cups, I'm trying to talk. That was very loud, whatever they were doing. Come on, Kate, you can do this. Oh, please don't say I didn't press record. Patrick's recovery was tough, but he eventually returned to his pastoral duties. I mean, do you think his resilience and faith helped him overcome this emotional toll of his recovery? Let me know in the comments. I mean, do you think the isolating period Charlotte endured whilst caring for her father played this sort of a role in inspiring her to write Jane Eyre? Could the challenges she had faced help shape the theme of the characters in her novel? Anyway, thank you for watching and coming with me on my jolly around Manchester. I hope it's helped you, like it did me, understand what was involved in Patrick's eye operation. If you like this video, then please do that whole likey, subscribey thing, because it really does help me out and it lets YouTube know that we want to watch more Brontë content. Have a good weekend, and I will see you next Friday for more Brontë adventures. Take care, see you soon.